What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 109 of Talk Wrestling here on NoDQ.com. Thank you all for watching the pre- and post-WrestleMania shows over the last couple days. Appreciate it. And if you didn't like it, that's too bad. Anyway, we're back to the mailbag this week. We got 10 questions for you. As far as the DVD and book reviews, I've been a lot of questions. Where's the DVD review? Where's the book review? I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of my stuff is in storage right now. So I'm not able to, get actually the DVD cases out of the storage and just say, here it is. So once I get them back, we'll be doing the reviews, okay? For now, let's deal with what I got. 10 questions. Here we go. This is from Damon V. Just wanted to know, in your opinion, what your favorite feel-good moment in WWE. Okay, that's kind of a weird... That's how he worded it. He wants to know my favorite feel-good moment in WWE history. For me, I'd have to say Eddie Guerrero beating Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship at No Way Out 2004, with Rey Mysterio's championship victory coming in a close second. I don't know about you, but after all the adversity that Eddie went through, and to finally get that nod from Vince and WWE, I almost put tears in my eyes watching him climb that turnbuckle. I'll never forget. Even though I hate Michael Cole screaming, "Come on, Eddie, come on, Eddie," and then jumping in the crowd with his family to celebrate the win. That's definitely up there on my list of feel-good moments in WWE history. Eddie, ascending the ladder finally and becoming WWE Champion. One that happened not too long after that, of course, and people don't mention it anymore because it's taboo to say his name. But Chris Benoit becoming the new the World Heavyweight Champion. That, for me, was a very cool, feel-good moment for Benoit to have battled for 18 years and gone through all the crap in the WCW. Yes, he was made WCW champion, but he only stayed there for one day after that because of all the garbage and politics that was going on backstage at WCW. So, for me, watching Benoit and Eddie win the World Championship within a month of each other, that was awesome. My first real feel-good moment that still stands out to me to this day was the reunion of the Macho Man Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth at WrestleMania 7 when Elizabeth saved Macho Man from a Sherry beatdown, and he put her on his shoulders, and they cried and they hugged, and they cried and they hugged, and it was so cool to see. I mean, I was, you gotta keep in mind, I was 8 years old when that happened. So for me, watching those two have that kind of reunion was oh God, girl, ew, cooties. But watching it back now as I've matured and I've aged, it still brings tears to my eyes to see that happen. Another feel-good moment, I know you guys are going to criticize me for this one, and I'm sorry, but the ovation for Hogan and his comeback in 2005 when he joined the Hall of Fame, and then when he came out the next night at WrestleMania, and the subsequent appearances after that when he would appear. And even to this day, he still gets pops that make me go, wow. He's still one of the top draws. He's still incredible. So, go figure. This is from Jay. What do you think TNA has to attain and not attain as far as ratings or house show attendance goes before they determine whether bringing in Hulk Hogan and company was a success or a complete failure? Well, they gotta get out of the, under 1.0 ratings. They're being rounded up to 1.0, but let's be honest, they're not 1.0s. They gotta, house show attendance is not where it should be either, according to most reports. But you know what? They're still fledgling, they're still learning, they're still working. House shows are not there, in my opinion, their determining factor. The determining factor is pay-per-view buy rates, which are low, and TV ratings, which are very low. They need to get into the 2.0s and even the 3.0s in ratings before they can determine whether Hogan was a success or not. As it stands right now, the last 2 months, it's been a flop. They're not getting anything above 1.0s except for the occasional draw since January 4th. Moving to 8 o'clock, on April 5th to not compete with the NCAA, I think is a very good idea. I don't know if it's going to be a permanent move or it's going to be just a one-off shot. If it was me, I would move permanently to 8 o'clock on Monday nights and give yourself the unopposed hour to build toward 9 o'clock like Nitro used to do. and see what they can do with it. Because if it was me and you're getting your butt kicked in the ratings week after week after week after week, I would go to Dixie and go, Dixie, Hulk, Ferrara, Russo, whoever, fix this. Make it happen. Do something. And 8 o'clock is a good start time. They'll have that unopposed hour, and they can make things happen. That's all we'll say. This is from Jake Callahan. I was wondering what 3 TNA wrestler or wrestlers you think should have their own DVD set who doesn't already have one. His choices are Jay Lethal, Cass/Suicide, and LAX. Well, I'm not going to go into the whole, who doesn't already have one, because a lot of guys that have one deserve another one. Chris Daniels, his first DVD release only went, I believe, up to 2004. He's done tremendous work since then. Samoa Joe, I don't think he has one. If he does, I'm sorry. He's had tremendous work. AJ Styles has had tremendous matches since his second DVD. He deserves another one. Frankie definitely deserves one. Cass/Suicide deserves one for sure. LAX, definitely. Jay Lethal, I don't know about Jay Lethal. I don't know if he's earned one. The Knockouts definitely deserve another one. Can't think off the top of my head. That's pretty much it for now. This is from Thomas Callan, excuse me. I want to share this with you before I ask my question. In 1996, I was at a taping of WCW Saturday Night. After one of the matches, the then Lord Steven Regal came out because his partner Bobby Eaton lost the match. I was able to be against the rail next to the ring and shouted at Regal, "You suck, Regal, you suck." He then turned and looked at me and said, "You better shut up, fat boy, before I place you back in your seat." I was 12 at the time. This leads into the question, as a fan, what was the best thing that a wrestler's ever said to you? Well, I've gotten into a lot of, interactions with wrestlers over the years, and keep in mind this is our 8th year that we've been doing this. As far as shows on No DQ and the Mayhem. The one that stands out the most was a 2-nighter. The first night, Chris Hamrick and Tracy Smothers had a match against, I couldn't tell you who it was now. I could look it up and let you know, but I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head. And I was hounding Hamrick pretty hard, and he turned around and, gave me, basically shut up, fat boy type thing. And the next night, when he came out for his match, I was front row at XPW that night, and Hamrick saw me, and he pointed at me and went like this to like the fat belly sign, and he ran his mouth a little bit, and then he turned his back, and I gave him the double bird. And as I gave him the double bird, he wound up and super kicked me right here, right in the chops. Just his chops, but right here in the chin, and knocked me to my ass. That's the best fan interaction I've ever had with a wrestler, and it was all in good fun, and we had a beer about it later and laughed hysterically amongst ourselves, and it was good times, and that's been the best fan interaction. I had another one at a Raw house show, and then a later Raw with Rico, if you all remember Rico, the flamboyant one, that was Billy and Chuck's stylist for a while. Everybody was chanting Rico sucks. I happened to be in the 4th row at an Unforgiven. I believe it was Unforgiven. I just was razzing it. Rico sucks. Rico sucks. He turned to me and said shut up or something, and we went back and forth a couple different times. And then when Raw came back to town in January of 2003 for a house show, Rico was on the card, and I sat pretty close, and I got him again. And he turned, and he looked at me, and he goes, You get out of here right now. I don't want to see you anymore, type thing. He remembered me. I thought that was so cool. So that's been the two that stand out most in my mind. This is from Logan Curtis. Of all the stables we've seen through professional wrestling history, who's had the biggest impact, and what stables, in your opinion, were really bad? Well, the most influential stable has to be the Horsemen. But from what I read seen on the DVD, they don't really call themselves a stable. They're more like a gang. Stable-wise, the Heenan family, the first family led by Jimmy Hart. The Horsemen are a stable, in my opinion. They don't call themselves that, but I consider them a stable. Because they said it best on the DVD. Without the Horsemen, there would have been no NWO, and there wouldn't have been a DX. And both those stables, NWO and DX, have been very influential over the years, but they wouldn't have come to be without the influence of the Horsemen. Evolution also is in that category. Evolution was the modern-day version of the Horsemen, and they ruled the roost for a long time on Raw. All those guys. As far as bad stables, well, the LWO had good intentions as far as from Bischoff, but instead of, having a few elite Mexican superstars do that, they ended up lumping the entire Mexican roster into one stable and put red, white, and green shorts on them. Even Eddie said that in his book. And it was a disaster. The stable right now with Michelle McCool and Layla and Vicky Guerrero and Maurice, if they're still together, I don't pay attention anymore, whatever. That's pretty awful. There's been so many, God. LWO sticks out most of my mind, though. This is from Joe Mama. Which titles in WWE do you think still mean something? We've heard you quote Vince Russo by calling belts props, but I feel some belts WWE still mean something, mostly the World Heavyweight and Intercontinental titles. The World Heavyweight title definitely sticks out as meaning something, and that is directly related to the reign of The Undertaker in the fall of last year, going into earlier this year before he lost to Chris Jericho, and even going into WrestleMania when Jericho defended the title against Edge. That title means something. I firmly believe that. The WWE title, it's the Cena show with that championship lately. And, it just goes back and forth between Cena and the Guy of the Week, or the Guy of the Month, or whatever. There's been no real differences. There's been no real variety, I guess, in that championship. Intercontinental, Drew McIntyre's been champion for God knows how long. It would mean something if he defended it, but can you name me the last time he defended the Intercontinental Championship? If he's even still champion right now. I don't even pay attention, like I said. If he's champion, when was the last time he defended the title? Isn't there a 30-day rule? Or 30-day rule in the world of professional wrestling? The knockout tag titles in TNA, have the TNA World title has definite meaning. Basically, the TNA championships mean something. The WWE titles, leave a little bit to be desired, but the TNA titles actually mean something to me, personally. This is from Dan Humphreys. I'm sorry if I said it wrong, Dan. And from Zach, because Dan asked a question and Zach answered it better than I ever could. How much Triple H's success has been influenced by Stephanie McMahon? If he hadn't married her, would he have been so successful? That's from Dan. And Zach sent me a question saying, just curious because I don't think I've ever heard your opinion on this. Do you think all the internet hate that Triple H gets for supposedly getting everything handed to him and having tons of backstage power true or false? Personally, I think it's false and he's earned everything he's gotten. And really, I'm just tired of everyone ragging on the guy when he's legitimately talented, but I'd like to hear your opinion. Zach said it wonderfully. Triple H was a success in this business long before he ever got romantically involved with a McMahon. Triple H, by the time he actually started dating Stephanie McMahon, had been WWE champion 2, if not 3 times. I don't know the exact starting point of their actual off-screen relationship, so I don't know. But he was 2-time champion before he even started the storyline with marrying Stephanie, and it was not too long after that storyline started that he became a 3-time champion, so they couldn't have been dating long. Triple H he will go down as a bona fide Hall of Fame inductee someday. He's one of the greatest of all time. And to lump him in as, he's on a power trip, or he's only successful because he's a McMahon-in-law is horseshit. Triple H is one of the best ever. Certain guys come around the right place at the right time, and they partner up with Vince, and they get a relationship going. Hulk Hogan's a great example of this. I love Hulk. He's my buddy. Love him to death. But he's not my buddy. I've only met him one time. But I consider him one of my all-time favorites. Hulk, came along at the right place, at the right time, with the right look, and this goes to another question I'll get to later. But he had the right look at the right place at the right time, and Vince said, "Ooh, power, push, ooh, seize the world." And Hogan went on to dominate the world. Stone Cold Steve Austin, again, right place, right time, right gimmick, right look. Right gimmick, especially with the anti-hero against the boss, Vince McMahon. Boom, takeoff. John Cena, right place, right time. All those guys. Triple H came along at a time where, his original gimmick, the aristocratic blue blood from Greenwich, Connecticut, kind of fell flat. When they allowed him to be himself, he became a superstar. That's the way it was in the mid to late 90s. When you were allowed to be yourself and just kind of tweak it a little bit or turn up the volume just a little bit, you became a star. The Rock, Triple H, Stone Cold, Mick Foley, all those guys. They became stars by being themselves with the personality tweaked ever so slightly. Rob, I don't know your last name, Rob. It's on your email, but I can't pronounce it. Latulippe. Who do you think, active or inactive, became a wrestling star based purely on being in the right place at the right time? Also, who do you think, active or inactive, could have been a total legend in this business and blew their opportunity? All right. I mentioned them earlier. Hogan, right place, right time. Austin, right place, right time. The Rock, right place, right time. Mick Foley, right place, right time. Triple H. But the difference is all those guys earned their spot and persevered and took their lumps for the most part. Hogan didn't really have to. He was just thrust into the spotlight very, very early on in his AWA and WWF, WWE career. As far as the guys that could have been, Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman had the talent and the skill and the gimmick, and he blew it by taking drugs. Eddie Guerrero has been made into a legend in his own time and past his own time after his death. But I think if Eddie had continued on and remained alive, I don't think he would have reached legendary status. Same goes for Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero both had all the tools and all the skills, and they just didn't. Benoit didn't blow his opportunities. Benoit worked. Eddie at two different times blew his opportunity to be a true success by taking the drugs. I love Eddie. I miss Eddie to this day. But I gotta be honest, I gotta be truthful on that, and that's gonna give me hate mail, I'm sure, because everybody loves Eddie Guerrero. So do I. Keep that in mind as you send the hate mail. I love Eddie. I miss Eddie. Okay. There's any number of guys that have been in the business. Sid Vicious. He could have been the greatest thing that happened to wrestling since sliced bread, but his attitude sucked so much balls that people didn't want to work with him. The Warrior. He's not legendary for being a WWE champion or being the guy that ran down the aisle. He's legendary for being an asshole. Warrior will best be known for being, even though it's not true according to him, a money-grubbing asshole. And the guys that have made it, have earned it. Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, currently, two of the all-time legends. Bona fide Hall of Famers one day. They earned their spot. Michaels almost blew his opportunity more than one occasion by being indulgent in things that he shouldn't have been involved with. Another person that comes to mind that could have been a great legend, and she is a legend to a certain extent, is Tammy Sitch, Sunny. She could have been the biggest thing in the world. And she allowed herself to fall into personal crap, and Sable surpassed her. Joe Emerson, what is the best WWE Championship match you've ever seen in a WrestleMania? Mine is the Fatal 4-Way match at WrestleMania 16, WrestleMania 2000. Okay. Over the last 26 years, there have been many, many WrestleMania main event matches for the WWE Championship. But my favorite one, God, That's such a hard question. There's been so many good ones. There's been a couple bad ones. Probably the no disqualification match from WrestleMania X7 between Steve Austin and The Rock in Houston, where Austin won the title with the endorsement of Vince McMahon and the multiple chair shots at the end. That match told one of the best stories I've ever seen. That match had me on the edge of my seat the entire time they were both in the ring and out of the ring and fighting. And the ending just was pure shock. Pure, oh my God, this just happened. He actually aligned himself with Vince McMahon. Holy shit, what's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen on Thursday? What's going to happen next week? Where's this going to go? That whole match, that whole story, story-wise, after the match, could have gone so much better, and WWE dropped the ball on that one. But the initial setting of the story, the WrestleMania X7 match between Austin and The Rock, and the involvement of Vince McMahon told a tremendous story, and it was a great match, and I don't think it'll ever be duplicated. I firmly believe that. Honorable mention, Angle Lesnar, Triple H Jericho, Hogan Andre, of course, Hogan Savage, Hogan Warrior, Flair and Savage, the Fatal 4-Way you mentioned, Austin Rock from 15, Michaels Hart from 12, Michaels Diesel from 11, just all good. This is from Neil Moss. Howdy, Jeff. Since you are a big Hulkamaniac, what is your all-time favorite Hulk Hogan match? Which Hulk Hogan match can you watch over and over again and not get tired of it? Mine would be Hulk vs. Rock at WrestleMania 18. The fans were into this match and the game to the end. It was a match that had the face and the heel switch roles, which I like once in a while. Yours would be... Well, keep in mind, when you... Let me correct you a second, Neil. The face and the heel didn't switch at the time. Hogan went into the match as a heel and came out as a face. Rock went in as a face and remained a face after the match was over. Yes, the fans booed him during the match, but at the end of the night, the fans loved both of them. It wasn't until much later when The Rock left WWE and dropped the Undisputed title to Brock Lesnar that the fans turned on him. And when he came back, he was a heel against Hulk. Let's be real. To be perfectly honest with you, and this hurts me to say it, as much as I love the Hulkster, there's not a Hulk Hogan match I can sit down night after night or week after week or whatever and watch and not get sick of, because there's so many more better wrestlers out there than Hulk Hogan that I can sit down and watch any given match on any given night with my vast DVD collection and say, I can watch this all the time. I can watch a Rob Van Dam match all the time. I can watch a Triple H match all the time. I can watch a Stone Cold match for the most part all the time. Hulk, early offensive flurry, get beat up for a while, Hulk up, beat him up, big boot, leg drop, in the shower. There's only so many times you can watch that and go, okay, I wonder what's going to happen next. Hulk's one of my all-time favorites, if not my all-time favorite. I professed my Hulkamaniac status many times on this show and on the old shows. But the act is old, man. The act is old. That's going to do it for Talk Wrestling for this week. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for sticking with us when we've been on multiple hiatuses over the last couple weeks. And thank you for subscribing, almost 13,000 of you now, for what I've been paying attention to on YouTube. We'll see you next time for more Talk Wrestling, and hope you guys have a good day.